Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. I'm joined by the one and only Max Scheinberg. Max and I go way back. First met in 2003 at Camp Green Lane in Green Lane, Pennsylvania on Green Lane Road. Max, it is great to see you. How you doing?
Lucas, doing good, buddy. I'm excited to be on today. We've had these discussions going back almost 20 years now, and catching up a couple of years ago with the final points, and now jumping on here. I'm excited to talk ball. So, with football really kicking off, the NFL last night and college football last week, just really excited, man.
So we got to start off with the massive news from the college football world. College football teams realigning like crazy. UCF is going to the Big 12. But before we get into that, this isn't, your grandparents and your parents' Big 12. There's no Texas. There's no Oklahoma. I mean, who's the best team in the Big 12 now? And when UCF actually does go in it, what is it gonna be like? Texas Tech, Kansas? Like, give me a break. Don't try to sell me on this is like a momentous day for UCF football. This might as well be the new American Athletic Conference for all I care. These teams, they're not powers. That's my take on it. What's your take on it?
My take, I'm looking at it a couple different ways. So UCF, when I started at UCF, we were in Conference USA. And when we were in Conference USA, our media money was $150,000 a year. Now, when we joined the Big East, which became the American Athletic Conference, that jumped to $1 million a year. And that was a big deal for UCF. We were, before I got to UCF, we were, taking these road games just to afford the athletic department. And now, fast forward, 15, 20 years, we're headed to the Big 12. Media money is going to have to be renegotiated, but based on early projections, you're looking at a jump from currently with our contract with the American Athletic contract at $7 million a season, which is also backloaded, which is a whole other story, to approximately with the college football playoff money jumping up to $15 to $30 million a year. So if you look at it from a financial decision, there's really nothing to discuss here. I understand Texas and Oklahoma, they're the mainstays in the Big 12, headed to the SEC. But this is a great opportunity for UCF, especially jumping from the American Athletic, where, we have Cincinnati, we have Memphis, SMU, and really, that's really the class of the AAC. So being able to move on from the American, obviously we've had a great run there. In the last 8 years, we've gone to 3 New Year's Six bowls, winning 2 of them. Getting the jump here, I think we're going to be able to compete right away. Kind of what you said. They're losing Texas and Oklahoma. You still have some big powerhouses, especially when it comes to basketball. If you're looking at a basketball conference, it's probably the second best basketball conference, maybe second or third best basketball conference, with Kansas, Baylor, Cincinnati is always good as well, coming with us. And then if you look at the football conference, UCF's going to be able to compete right away. You have Oklahoma State, TCU, Baylor. They've all seen success. New Year's Six, big time games. And then, obviously you have Kansas, probably the worst football school in the entire country, maybe them and Vanderbilt in the Power Five. But between the money and just in general, getting every single week, we're playing a legitimate conference game. Are they the best Power Five teams football-wise? No. But for UCF, it was an easy decision, a historic day. From an outsider like you may not understand how big a day this is. But for us, it's huge. I can't wait. Looking at 2023, hopefully get that 1 year of overlap with Texas and Oklahoma, maybe get out to Austin or Norman for a game.
Well, sounds very, very exciting. I was just thinking, they've had like one like decent basketball year in their history when they had the 7'6" dude,
Taco Fall.
That was like the only year where they've ever like made some serious noise. Like, I don't know, in the history of the program.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to grow there. Just looking at the footprint of Florida in general, like it's a recruiting hotbed too. So I think going to a better, bigger conference, especially bringing Cincinnati with us and Houston. Kelvin Sampson's still the coach at Houston. It's going to we're immediately from day one when we joined that conference, it's a much better basketball conference than it was even with Texas. Maybe not without Texas and Oklahoma, but with Cincinnati, Houston, And potentially down the road, I know they've talked about maybe adding Memphis as well. It's going to be a really, really good basketball conference. So UCF has a long way to go. We have a good coach with Johnny Dawkins. Like you said, we've really only had one relevant year with Taco and Johnny's son. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to help recruiting. We keep growing our facilities. We have the largest alumni base in the country. So just looking forward to, continuing to grow. I mean, over the last 10 years, we've gone from Conference USA to American Athletic and now to the Big 12. So just keep going onward and upward.
Next stop is the SEC, right?
I don't know about that. Got a long way to go, but between the SEC with the Gators and then the ACC with Florida State and Miami, I don't think we would ever be welcome. Yeah, but just in general with the Florida footprint already, it's kind of why the Big 12 was always the one spot that we could really take that jump, because the other schools, there's no incentive with our in-state schools for them to ever add UCF unless we just continue to explode and have a situation like Texas and Oklahoma, but that's a long, long ways down the road. So I'm just grateful and excited for the opportunity for UCF. Financially, we'll see an immediate impact, and the TV market as well. Orlando is the 18th biggest market in the country. So immediately adding that value to the Big 12.
My money, the whole realignment stuff, I'm a sucker for history and tradition. To see all these geographical rivalries just get kicked out the curb for more money is it hurts my heart, and it's happening all across sports. I just finished reading a Michael Jordan book. It was written in 1993, I believe, and one of the things that stuck out to me towards the end was Jordan talking about them tearing down the Chicago Coliseum and how devastated he was that all this history and tradition that team had built in that arena was going away, and it was never going to be the same because of luxury suites, like the same things that we're hearing about now that I was too naive to think about in 2008, 2009, when all these new stadiums were being built, was actually like a thing. I didn't realize that they were going to do that, which brings us to the JETS, Jets. The whole reason why I brought you on, Max. Football season begins on Sunday. Let's go. We got the Panthers.
I can't wait.
That's our 4-point dogs. Why the hell are you so excited? This team's going to stink. Well, we got a top 3 pick in the draft. Why are you excited? I don't understand it.
There is a lot of excitement. I think it's a new era of Jets football. And I know you've heard this every 2 to 4 years. It's a new era, new coach, new general manager, new quarterback.
Sounds like the same thing every single year. It's just repeat the same crap over and over again. I've heard this like a million times in my life.
I totally agree. And I mean, we'll get into the weeds here in a little bit, but I just love the combination. Saleh, the energy, the leadership, LaFleur, the innovative play caller, comes from a great system. Joe Douglas, say what you want about, his first couple of years before getting Saleh in the building, but I really believe in him as a talent evaluator. And then the number one, the crown jewel, Zach Wilson. I mean, obviously everything that we've heard out of camp has been, through the roof, excluding one open practice that I know everyone overreacted to. But I always put my blind faith in the Jets. I'm usually let down. I know a lot of the fan base feels the same way, but I'm very, very excited for this year. And moving forward, I mean, this year, I think we're pretty much on record as saying like, this is a growth year. And I know we've heard that year after year, but I just really want to see the product out there. After the last 2 years, it can't get any worse. It really can't. I mean, we went 2-14 last year. We were the worst team in the NFL, whether we had the first pick or the second pick or whatever. And now just looking into the future, I just feel great about the pieces they're putting around Wilson. The infrastructure's there with the coach and GM on the same timeline. So just looking forward to this year, and it can only go up. So just hoping that we stay on that trajectory, and we'll see what's next.
All right. From my vantage point, like I can't emotionally invest. And you could call me a fair weather fan, call me a fake fan, call it what you want. I can't emotionally invest myself in a team, in a season I'll watch, but not like I'm not living or dying by this team this year. Because and listen, if they get off to a 1-0 start, if they beat the Pats in week 2 and 2-0 at that point, I'll be over the moon excited. If they're 2-0 after the first 2 games of the season, which is, I mean, a major reach. They're not going to be favored. I don't know when they're going to be favored this year. They may never be favored this year. But if they do get to a point where they're like 2-0, I mean, that'll be really, really exciting. But you just know that the collapse is inevitable. But I want to take you back a little bit. so our 2000, going to our senior year of high school, the Jets just lost to the Steelers. The last great moment in Jets history was Bart Scott saying, "Can't wait." It's been all straight nosedives since then. Can you believe that the Jets haven't sniffed the playoffs since then? And what if I told you after Big Ben made that completion on third down in the 2010 AFC Championship?
Antonio Brown.
Was it
my life?
I couldn't remember if it was an AB or Emmanuel Sanders. One of those.
Yep.
I know it was one. I had never heard of him before that play. And I was like, because I was so worried about what they have Mike Wallace and a couple other.
That was a loaded team. They had Heath Miller.
Right. So what if I would have told you after that game the Jets wouldn't be back? I mean, they would go on to have the longest playoff drought in the NFL. What would you have said in that moment?
I would say in that moment you're crazy, but hindsight's 2020, right? I mean, you look at kind of the decisions that they were making leading up to that game were all win now decisions. Everything, the trade for Santonio Holmes, the trade for Braylon Edwards, the trade for Antonio Cromartie, trade for Chris Jenkins. I mean, they were dumping draft capital left and right to add players, and those players were huge contributors in those 2 seasons. So, in that moment, they were the right move. Looking post 2010, everything started to fall apart. And once the infrastructure around Sanchez fell apart, you kind of got to see that he really wasn't that guy. I know his second year, his numbers were, I think he threw 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, or 20 and 11, something along those lines. But, those decisions indirectly affected 2011 and beyond. And then they just made so many bad decisions after that. The Idzik hiring, the Bowles hiring, the McCack. And I know we'll dive into that later, but in that moment, no, I would have said you were crazy, because I really thought Sanchez was I wasn't 100% sold he was the guy, but I thought that he was good enough to take us into that next stage where, we could kind of rebuild our draft capital, unload some of those bigger contracts and start to rebuild, but it just fell apart. So yeah, it's hard to believe that we have the longest playoff drought in the NFL right now, but here we are. And, those 2 years were the most fun years of my fanhood. I was like only 5 or 6 years old in '98. So I can't really, live and die on that year. But 2009, 2010, it's hard to believe, but everything fell apart after those years. And I wouldn't believe it back then, but it makes perfect sense now.
I listened to an interview with Mike Francesa a couple weeks ago. He talked about that 1998 AFC title game and how he was there. He was in Denver. He was like first row, somewhere in the stadium. And he said to his wife, the Jets are going to the Super Bowl at halftime. They were up 10-0, and they were outscored 28. They were outscored. They shut out in the second half and just never made a game of it. But man,
the crazy part about that game, and like I said, I wasn't obviously a diehard fan back in 1998. I was 5 years old, but rewatching that game, looking back at it now, like we were up 10-0 I think at the half.
Yeah.
And the Falcons had just upset the Minnesota Vikings, who the Vikings were awesome that year.
That was the Moss Culpepper,
mm-hmm.
Chris Carter year.
So everyone was like at halftime, the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. That's kind of going back to what you said about Francesa, because the Falcons were not a very good team. I couldn't even tell you who the quarterback of that team was, but it's just kind of Jets fashion. It's kind of how it goes. I thought they would have won the Super Bowl in 2010 if they pulled that comeback off against the Steelers, but here we are, man. It sucks, but hopefully we're on the upswing here.
It's crazy. You put together the second half of that Steelers game and the first half of that Colts game, put those two together, and you have an unbelievable championship game.
Absolutely.
Moving on to move on to Zach Wilson. Listen, the Jets, as we talked about off the top, every year it seems like we're saying new coach, new general manager, new quarterback, and this is their third. Sanchez was drafted 5th overall in 2009, I believe. So this will be the third time in the last 12 years that they invested a heavy amount of draft capital and a major draft pick in a quarterback, and every single time they started their guy week 1. I will die on this hill for as long as I live, and there are a few exceptions. And at the end of the day, there are going to be certain exceptions. But this notion that you have to start your rookie quarterback, unless he's drafted 1st overall, like a Trevor Lawrence or a Peyton Manning. And Andrew Luck. Those are the exceptions. To me, the Jets and Zach Wilson, and you could argue that they don't have a backup quarterback, so they basically put themselves in this situation where they have to start him, which based on the other quarterbacks on the roster, in my opinion, they really have no other choice because they just utterly ignored having a backup quarterback. Zach Wilson should not be starting week 1. And these dudes need like a month to just sit on the bench and watch. I'm telling you, that is huge beneficiaries moving forward. You look at Patrick Mahomes had his first year. Rodgers sat for 3 years. Eli Manning sat for the first 7 games of his rookie year. And look how those guys turned out. They all turned out unbelievable. And we're talking about some of the best quarterbacks look at the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Whoever else you want to put in that category. Those guys didn't play week 1. Why are the Jets every freaking year when they have a rookie quarterback, we're playing him week 1? Say what you want, but that's not the formula it should be. I can't believe they keep doing this. And you could argue that Darnold would have been maybe Darnold, if he had a chance to just sit back and watch for a month, would have benefited immensely from that. You could argue that the Jets in 2009, who knows, those ended up being the best 2 years of his career. But so you don't know how that would have changed. But I really do believe that sitting and watching as a rookie quarterback pays off in a big, big way, and the Jets continue to botch that. And we'll see how it plays out here. I think you disagree here. I can't believe it.
I disagree, but I think it's a situation by situation basis. So let's rewind here. Sanchez, right? The Jets had probably the best offensive line they've ever had in team history.
Right.
Headlined by DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold, Brandon Moore.
Faneca.
Yeah, Faneca. They had just signed Faneca. And they had Thomas Jones and Leon Washington as rookie year. So the infrastructure was there. They had a team ready to win. And if you're not starting Sanchez that year, I think you're starting Kellen Clemens, which if you're just looking at that team and you have a true quarterback competition.
Right. 09 is the exception. It's more about Darnold, Geno Smith,
okay. So
and Zach Wilson.
I agree in the Darnold situation. Darnold came in extremely raw. There was no infrastructure around him. I think they pulled Jeremy Bates, the offensive coordinator, off a mountain. I remember reading a story along the lines that he was camping out in the mountains, living off the land. And then the next thing you know, getting the call to be the offensive coordinator for the 3rd overall pick in the 2017 draft, whenever Darnold got drafted. Yeah, that team was horrible. No offensive line, no legitimate play caller, no real pass catchers around him. I think Jermaine Kearse. The problem is they did bring in competition for Darnold, Bridgewater and Josh McCown, and he beat them both out, whether that was a fair competition or not, here nor there. I agree. In that situation, he wasn't ready to be the guy, and they kind of threw him into the fire. The last 4 games of his rookie year, it looked like he was really progressing.
Yeah, he was.
Heading into that second year, I really thought that was going to be a launch point for him. But I agree. The Darnold situation was not so unique because most quarterbacks getting drafted high end up on horrible teams. When it comes to Wilson, and you cannot compare the 2009 team to.
All right, yeah, that's not a fair comparison. Okay,
not a fair comparison at all.
More so,
however,
it's most similar to Darnold if we're making comparisons.
Yeah. However, I think he's of all the rookie quarterbacks that are starting week 1. So Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence, are those the only 2 that are starting week 1?
So yeah, and then Wilson.
So of those 2, I actually think he has the best chance to succeed from the beginning.
You think Zach Wilson does?
Yeah.
No, you don't. Mac Jones has the best situation to succeed. That is not close,
agree.
Max.
They don't have any skill position.
The Patriots are making the playoffs. They're making the playoffs.
They have a fantastic defense.
You honestly believe Zach Wilson is in a better situation than Mac Jones?
Offensively. And let me tell you why. The Jets have invested 2 first-round picks in the last year in offensive line. They've invested 2 second-round picks in wide receivers.
But what does that mean in the past, though? That the Jets have more draft busts than any team in the freaking NFL. Don't even give me that. But okay, continue.
My view on it is based on what we know and what we've seen from Mekhi Becton in real games, not what you hear in training camp, and what you think Elijah Vera Tucker is one, the offensive line is going to be significantly better this year versus last year. One, it's better coaching. Two, there's better players. And three, I actually think Connor McGovern's going to have a rebound year at center. He was horrible last year, but he was playing with Alex Lewis and Greg Van Routen on his right. And, George Fant, Morgan Moses, I don't know if that's a huge upgrade, but honestly, Fant was better than we expected. And based on what we've been told, Moses is supposed to be an upgrade over Fant. So you're looking at a much improved offensive line. You're probably going from a bottom three offensive line to hopefully a top 18. So if you're jumping from, let's say, the 29th best offensive line to the 16 to 18, that's a huge jump. That's going to open up a lot of running lanes for our running backs, and it's going to give Zach some actual time. If you watch Sam, my biggest complaint with Sam, besides Adam Gase and the skill catchers around him, he had the worst feet. He panicked in the pocket every single play. And I really watching Zach in the preseason, I know it's against backups, but great feet, very patient, very poised. Let's see if that continues into the regular season. But I love the offensive line upgrades. They've invested in Corey Davis. They've invested in Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims, Keelan Cole. I mean, they're trying everything they can to put players around this guy. And Darnold just did not have that. So for me, at the end of the season, this is kind of what my perspective on it. There's 3 P's that I highlighted: progress, points, and promise. You can use the Chargers kind of as a marker here. The Chargers went into last year, they were going to start Tyrod Taylor. Then you have that whole incident with his lungs. Herbert comes in and lights it up. Did they have a great year? No. But they're coming into this year thinking, wow, we have a legitimate chance because we know we have the guy. So I look at the Jets and I say, if Zach has some time to throw, if we stay relatively healthy, if we can get a decent running game going, get him on the move, get a lot of motion in the offense, and we head into 2022 with a ton of draft picks, and you have a really good feeling about Zach, this year's all about progress. So for me, I get your concerns about starting Zach week 1, but it's not about. It is about winning games, but it's more about progress than it is win total. If we go 6-11 and Zach throws for 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 picks, no one's going to care if we're 6-11 or 7-10 or 8-9 miss the playoff. If we go 6-11 and the defense overachieves, but Zach sucks, it's a complete mess. So I think we just have to play it by ear, kind of see how everything goes. But I think it's the right decision to start Zach. So we'll start there. We'll see where we go. And I'm hopeful. I think they're making the right decisions.
We'll see. What I hear there is wait till next year. And I've been saying that Jets fans have been saying that for about over 50 years now. We just this year, then we'll do it next year, and then next year, Vinny Testaverde tears his Achilles week 1. Mark Sanchez gets hurt, and they have to start
The big
else.
problem is we just know, like, the secondary is horrible. We're going to give up points. That's why I'm not saying, like, if Zach's great, we're going to win 10 games. I genuinely think we can lose some games this year, 38-34, 41-31. And it's like Zach's going to have 320 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and 0 picks. And everyone's like, Zach played great, but we still lost the game. So I think there's 2 ways to look at it. I agree with you. It sucks that it's going to probably be another year of no playoffs, but it's about progress. And I want to see some points. It's been 2 years. It's been 11 years of no points,
No, so they put up points with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick set the record for
2015 is an outlier. We went 10-6 and didn't make the playoffs. And then the team fell apart in 2016. And Brandon Marshall was trying to fight everybody. So for me, I just need progress. I need hope. If we surprise everybody and we come out and win 8 or 9 or 10 games, awesome. No one would be happier than me. Am I expecting that? No. So I just want to see Zach come out there and look like a competent NFL player, see some progress in the offensive line, and hopefully find some players on the back end of the secondary, because that's really the biggest problem with this team right now. So just got to hope that Salah's plan and LaFleur's plan is a solid one. And if we see progress, I'll be happy, because the last 2 years have just been the worst 2 years of football I've experienced in my entire life. And there's been a lot of bad ones for the Jets.
The 3Ps, Coach Scheinberg whipping out the 3Ps. I love it.
3Ps.
So all right. So let's talk win totals for the Jets this year. Their over number in Las Vegas is 6. Are you going over or under 6 wins for Zach Wilson, who I'm still trying to process this, is going to have a better year and it's better set up for success than Mac Jones? Still trying to process that, but go ahead.
Offensively, the defense on the Pats is a million times better than the Jets. The over-under is a really tough one. I think if you were going to ask me for my record prediction, I'd say 6-11. That's kind of been what I've been saying all offseason. For progress purposes and bias, I'll just hit the over, but I think it's going to be dead on. I think I think they're a 6-11, 7-10, or 5-12 team. I know I'm kind of just, that's a political answer and not really giving you much, but if they stay completely healthy and Zach's great, I think they hit the over pretty easily. I think if there's another devastating injury, the Carl Lawson one was a brutal one for the defense. We'll have to see what happens, but yeah, I'll hit the over, but cautiously optimistic on the over.
Interesting. Okay. I think 5-12 is probably the right number. And by the way, I hate the, just wait, just get through this year, then we'll see about because you never know. You never freaking know. Like even with the Nets this year, like last year, them blowing that series to the Bucks was a complete gut punch because they were set up to win the title last year. And now we'll wait till next year and we'll have everyone healthy. How do you don't know. The reality is you don't know. Something can happen with Durant, something can happen with Harden, something can happen with Kyrie at any given moment that completely catapults your hopes and dreams. And I'm done we'll just wait and we'll be back here. Like you don't know. You just who would have thought that we'd be here now, 11 years after making the AFC Championship game, longest playoff drought in the NFL. Like no one would have predicted that. Like you thought the Jets were going to be set up for the next 20 years with Mark Sanchez at quarterback. And it's completely fallen on our faces.
I think it's so funny too because people are picking the Browns as a potential AFC favorite or at least contender, and it's like, how far have we come where the Browns have passed us? The Dolphins went 10-6 last year. The Bills were 1 game away from the Super Bowl, and we're still sitting in the cellar of the NFL. So for me, it's like it can only go up from here because everybody else that's been sitting with us at the bottom for my entire lifetime is finally making progress. So for me, it can only go up because of how horrible last year was. So I'm just looking forward to it because I trust this front office. I trust this coaching staff. I need to actually see tangible results to be all in, but I'm very excited for what's to come. Win or lose on Sunday, I think it's going to be an up and down year, but I think ultimately at the end of the year, we're going to walk away saying Robert Saleh is the coach and Zach Wilson is the quarterback moving forward.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Week 1, Sunday, 1:00 Eastern, Sam Darnold Bowl. Panthers favored by 4. Over-under is 44. Do the Jets start their season 1-0 to get Broadway Zach the headline on the back page of the New York Post?
I do think they start 1-0. I think they cover and they win. Obviously, if they're winning, they're going to cover. I got a 24-16 final. I think Sam Darnold's going to make some costly mistakes. I think our D-line is really going to it's going to have to be a quick passing game for the Panthers. A lot of dump offs to McCaffrey, maybe some jet sweeps with DJ Moore, some quick passes to him. I know they'll probably try something with Robbie Deep, but I don't think he's going to have a ton of time to pass. And I think that sets up our corners to make a play. I think we're going to get beat on probably a deep ball or two, or McCaffrey just doing something ridiculous, but I really feel good about this matchup for us. They're missing their 2 starting guards on the offensive line, an offensive line that was already really bad. So I expect Quinton Williams, Sheldon Rankins, and John Franklin Myers to really get after the passer. And we've seen Sam, you get pressure on him and he starts making some horrible mistakes. And I think if we can get pressure, it's going to be a long day for Sam. And I think their defense is much improved. But I also think we're going to have a good opportunity to throw on them as well. They're obviously JC Horn's a rookie. It's his first game. I know they have Jeremy Chin also on the back end, but that defense has some young talent, but I don't think they've actually proven it on an NFL level yet. So until we see that, I think we're going to be able to move the ball on them. Are we going to score a ton of points? No, I don't think so. But I think Zach's going to make some plays. Our defense is going to get a turnover or two, and we come out with anywhere from a 6 to 8 point win on the road, starting off week 1.
My best bet for week 1 is Robbie Anderson to score a touchdown.
I'd say that's a good bet.
I gotta see if I don't think the odds are posted yet. But if I were to bet on the game, which I'm not going to, and you seem pretty, your optimism for the Jets is like astounding. Like, haven't you seen enough with this team to like not Robbie Anderson? Oh my God! Oh, first touchdown score. Robbie Anderson is plus 215 to score a touchdown according to Caesar Sportsbook. He's
okay.
He's plus 950 to score the first touchdown of the game. So we'll see. We'll see how that. And one thing you didn't mention about the Jets is like this running back by committee crap. Like, what the hell are they doing? Like, they have like Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, P. Ryan. Like, there's like a million guys here. Like, how the hell is this going to work? What the hell are they doing?
Well, they don't have a guy, but they do have a bunch of.
And that's
guys.
A huge problem.
The thing for me, and this isn't me being eternally optimistic, but
everything you say are better than Mac Jones.
No, I said they're good. I said I picked them to win 6 games. That's not really that optimistic.
Mac Jones might win 11 games. That does not sound like better than. So right, you're picking Zach Wilson. Your pick to win Rookie of the Year too, huh? Zach Wilson for Rookie of the Year.
No, Najee Harris is my pick to win Rookie of the Year. I just think that's a great situation for him. He's going to be the bell cow there. But going back to this team, I'm sorry. What were you asking about? The running back by committee? So I actually
Ty Johnson.
I like the skill set here. No, I don't think anyone's going to run for over 1,000 yards. But I think so. Opening week, the way it's been described to me, it's going to
by your sources.
My sources, just what I've seen, what I've heard. I think it's going to be early on a lot of Tevin Coleman and a lot of Ty Johnson. I think as the season goes on, Michael Carter is going to be worked in. I know that the personnel in front office really like LaMichael Pirine. I know no one's seen it, so I'm not really confident in LaMichael Pirine. I actually like Josh Adams more. I was hoping they would cut Pirine and keep Adams. I know they just added Adams to the active roster though. But Ty Johnson, I mean, he had like 475 yards rushing last year, and I think he only I don't think he started a single game. I know the Raiders game he had over 100 yards rushing, but every time this guy's been given an opportunity, he makes plays. Do I think he's going to be at 1,000-yard back this year? No, but I think given the opportunity, we all know Tevin Coleman's going to go down at some point. I hate to say that, but he's hurt every single year. I think we're going to look at the end of the year. Ty Johnson's going to have himself like 700 yards if he stays healthy, and I think Michael Carter you'll be looking at about 500 yards as well. So if you can get a couple games out of Tevin Coleman out of the backfield catching the ball, I like him. This committee, is it a great group of guys? No, but I think if they can combine for 1,300 yards and do a good job catching the ball out of the backfield, because Zach's going to be relying a lot on his checkdowns, especially early on. I think it's going to be not great, but probably better than most casual fans would expect. I've drafted Ty Johnson in the last round of every single fantasy draft. So
I've been all over Tevin Coleman. He is on both my teams.
Yeah, there you go. So I think early on, especially with Carolina, I think opening drive, you're going to see Tevin Coleman on the field. I think he's going to be the guy who's going to get the first handoff or the first touch. And then I think you'll see a little bit of Ty Johnson. I think LaMichael Pirine is he's questionable, so I'm not sure he's playing. And then you have Josh Adams as well and Michael Carter. So I think a lot of Tevin Coleman early, Ty Johnson sprinkled in, and then maybe some Michael Carter. I don't think you'll see much of Pirine or Adams unless somebody gets hurt. I don't really know why we're carrying 5 backs right now. Maybe because they thought the Ravens might offer us something with all their stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great group of backs, but I think I have a little bit more of an optimistic point of view because I like Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman. When he's been on the field, he's a pretty good player. So we'll just have to see what happens.
All right. This will be a fun season for the New York Football Jets. 5-12, 4th overall pick in the draft. I'll sign up for that right now. One thing before we go, the Jets need a new stadium. I mean, my God, whatever they built in East.
The air conditioner.
Is it, that's a good term for it, but it's a 95,000 seat just bowl of nothing. It is a disgrace that they did that. And I heard this take a couple weeks ago that like there was nothing wrong with Giant Stadium. Like all these fucking luxury. Sorry, I shouldn't have cursed. All of these luxury suite crap is just ruined sporting
PSLs. PSLs have ruined.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, honestly, it's one of the worst pro sports stadiums, and it's only like 8 years old, which is scary because I can't really see them leaving. I will say, I thought you were going to ask me, what is it the worst? It's not the
I
worst.
don't want to talk about Tropicana Field.
Tropicana Field is the worst venue in all pro sports that I've ever been to, will ever go to. But in professional football, for it being a new state, I mean, you look at SoFi Stadium, like, why couldn't we build something like that? Or even the Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium, like the new stadiums are just
There's no
fan-friendly.
character. Well, it also hurts that like you go in there and you don't even know what team plays there because there's nothing like Jets like. It's not like it's basically built for. It's just a random stadium. There's no like they have like. It's all like artificial jet stuff. They could just rip it off and peel it out and throw it out the window after every game. It's just
I'd really like if they would actually move to the city. I mean, I know that that's like a lot of things on Jets Twitter that you see. A lot of people tagging Woody and Chris Johnson in tweets, but I mean, the stadium.
They need to get the hell out. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I just don't know how, but I'm hopeful. I mean, it'd be awesome if they build a brand new stadium, a legitimate football stadium. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, when I make it big and I buy the Jets, then I will make that happen immediately. That will be my first move as owner of the Jets, building a new stadium. Lock that in. Max Scheinberg, it's been a pleasure. Let's go Jets. 5-12. Here we go.
Let's go Jets. Thanks for having me on, Lucas. I appreciate it, man.
Anytime, Max.